Well, I got this nice engine on eBay. I bought this, it's HO scale. It looked like it was going to be fun to fix. So it's a U33B. So I open it up, all ready to take a look inside. So without further ado, I'll remove the shell. And it's in pretty bad shape. But I'm going to see if I can fix this. When I put my test leads on it, it does run. So there's hope, but the wheels are very, very dirty. So I'm going to disassemble that for you and we'll clean it. But first, I want to see if it runs. So I put power to the track and it looks like it's going to sort of kind of run. But it's in need of a good cleaning. Actually, not bad at all. Surprising. Well, anyways, when I get it clean, it's going to run good. So let's get to work. So I got a box to keep my parts organized. I'm going to start by removing the couplers. It doesn't say Athearn anywhere underneath the engine, but I have a feeling this really feels like Athearn. I've got a feeling that's what it is. So I'm keeping my stuff organized by doing that. The first thing I'm going to do is remove this part right here, which holds the truck to the frame. So I'm going to do that first. So I took this first retainer out. Everything comes out with the drive shaft, universal joint, and a worm gear. So again, I'm going to keep this together so I don't lose anything, and then I'll do the other side. So once you have your worm gear out, the trucks fall right out. Easy as that. So there's a pin at each end that holds the cover. Once you have that out, it becomes very easy to work with this. These should just spread out. They spread out and then you have access to your wheels. And you also have access to the gearbox. This one is going to need lubrication. This really does feel like an Athearn. So I'm going to clean these up and put them back together. I used a little bit of steel wool on the metal parts to make them just a little bit better looking. You want to keep the steel wool away from the motor because it has magnets and it's going to suck them in and then you're buggered. Now that I've got everything cleaned up, it looks like the engine was in pretty good shape to begin with. What you want to spend the most time on is the wheels because they pick up electricity from the track. And that's exactly why the engine wasn't running properly. So I'm going to do the exact same steps for the other side. I'm going to put this back together and I'm going to re-lubricate it. I'm going to show you where I put my oil. So I'll start with this piece. You don't need a lot of oil, just a drop will do. So I do every post here a little bit on each side, and the side that's going to be rubbing here, I'll put a little bit there. Then I put my gears back in. And that goes on top of that. Just like that. That's what your gearbox should look like. Then I can add the two sides. Just like that. And before I add the other side, I have to put the wheels back in. I'm going to put some oil at the end of each side. There. You don't need much. And the second side. And then that's it. There's bearings in the side frames, and that's what makes your engine roll smoothly, just like a real locomotive. It's actually a good design. I like this. And then once you feel you have everything where it should go, you put the retainer back. I'm going to try the gears to be sure I've got everything running smooth. So once you're happy with that, you put the retainer back on. One side at a time. And then once that's in, you're all ready to go. When you're done, you want your trucks to look like this, with the worm gear at each end, and then these sides picking up to the frame on the same side, and the sides going to the power bar for the engine on the same side also. If you do it backwards, you're going to get a short circuit. I'm going to put just one drop in my worm gear also. You don't need much. The motor is going to get a drop too on the outside here. And it's got a little bit of thrust, so I'm going to fool around with it, make sure the oil gets in there. So you oil it on the outside, never here on the contacts. That's a big no-no. And this bar brings power to the motor. So I'm curious to see. I'm going to put this on the track and let's see how it runs. So it runs much better now. So the body shell, other than a little dust, looks okay to me. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the handrails. I'm going to straighten out the handrails, and also they have a tendency to wobble, so I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on the stanchions to straighten them out, keep them from wobbling. And also I'm going to paint the handrails. But before I do that, I'm going to remove the dust from it. I use just soap and water. And I might do a little bit of touch-up. Some of the yellow could use extra touch-ups. Like here, I'm going to touch these things up. And the back looks okay. So I'm going to start by washing this. So I removed the windows because after I paint it, I'm going to use some dull coat because my paint is gloss and the finish should be matte. One of the stanchions was missing, so I made a new one. You can see my video on painting a natural scale GP35. I give all my secrets on how to make handrails. So I'm going to glue my stanchions before I paint. Another little tip for you, is I'll paint a little bit of clear on my number boards. I'm going to come back later on with decals. The clear is going to allow the decals to stick very well. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back to do the number boards. So I finished painting my handrails, and I was lucky the paint I have matched the body very well. I won't sugarcoat it for you. It takes a lot of patience to do this. So I did the handrails in 2 separate days. That way I didn't get too boring. Now the paint I'm using for my handrails is very shiny. So I'm going to be putting some dull coat on the body. Obviously, if you're going to do some weathering, do it before the dull coat. So I'm going to go do the dull coat right now. So while my dull coat is drying, I'm going to use some of my leftover decals for the number boards. Once they're inside the cab, they will look black, and they'll also let the light through. So painting the handrails and painting doing the number boards certainly helped it out quite a bit. Looks a lot better now. So now I'm ready to put the body shell back on the drive. The drive, while I had it in my hands there, I decided to put Bachmann Easy Mate couplers. They fit right in the pocket, so it was easy to do. So all that's left to do is put the body back on, and these snap right in. It's very easy to do. And that's it. Now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It sure was a fun project to do. See you soon.